Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's episode of Advanced Bass Fishing, and really appreciate you guys coming by the channel to check the video out and spend some time with me. Always appreciate that. And guys, today we're going to have a little conversation. I'm going to clue you in on and sort of give you some advanced tips on one of my favorite top waters for the upcoming fall months as far as the technique, how to fish it, and what you want to look for. And that is fishing the old Heddon Super Spook. Now, this isn't the regular Sarah Spook. This is the larger 3-hook Super Spook here. And this, guys, when the conditions are right in the fall time of the year, I have had some unbelievable days. So what I want to do in today's little mini seminar is I want to sort of lay out to you what the perfect set scenario is for it, the perfect conditions, talk a little bit about how to work it and why it's so effective, because I'm telling you guys, I don't care what part of the country you're in, you get the right set of conditions with that Super Spook, and it's going to be one of the best bass fishing days you've ever had in your whole life. Also, guys, I will link my Super Spook link in my Tackle Warehouse link in the description if you guys want to use that link for the Super Spook or any other fishing gear. It's a really good way to support advanced bass fishing here, along with all the other links I put in the description. And also, guys, I've started up my on-the-water lessons again. So anyone out there interested in booking an on-the-water lesson with me for this fall and winter, just go to my Facebook page, Randy Block, a Professional Angler, and I'll give you some information on it. Really appreciate that. Okay, guys, this Super Spook, man, it is so, I don't understand why this thing is not, it's not like one of the most talked about techniques that there is out there. It is a sleeper. Some guys that know about it, if you know on this, but you get the right conditions in the fall time of the year, and this is phenomenal. Now, I want to talk a little bit about what you want to look for and when the window of time for this bait that works really good is, and the type of lakes that it works the best on. First of all, for the most part, now there can be some maybe a little earlier at times, a little later at times, but October is the month for a Super Spook. October, you usually have, it's accompanied by, you got your shorter daylight hours, nighttime temperatures are dropping a little bit, there's some movement of more fish shallow. But what happens, and this is one of those mysterious variables in fishing, what happens in the month of October for most bass fisheries? Now, the exception to any rule out there is the extreme northern fisheries or the extreme southern fisheries. But if you're in the majority of the geographical area of the United States, or the mid part of the country from East Coast to West Coast, the month of October is the magic month for the Super Spook. It's just, again, it's the mood and the personality and the whatever it is that triggers a fish to want to react to this bait. It happens in the month of October better than any other month of the year. I mean, you can catch bass on the top water about any time the water's over 55 degrees, even on a Super Spook, but the month of October is when this thing fires up and they'll bite it better than anything. So that's the first deal. The second thing with it is you've got to have the right type of water clarity for this. Now, the water clarity is pretty versatile for it as far as the range of it. I have done well in water visibilities that sort of like the minimum I like is like, 2.5 to 3 foot would be minimum. And it can be as clear as it possibly gets. But ideally, the best water clarity that you're going to have for this is sort of that probably 3.5 to 6 foot visibility, that type of range. So it's going to be a little bit better in your clear water impoundments. And there's quite a few lakes out there that on the lower end of the lake, you got 3 or 4 foot of visibility, especially in the fall time of the year, because water levels are usually dropping and the water usually starts cleaning up a little bit. And that's another factor that you want, is you need a lake that the water levels are dropping. They don't have to be dropping fast, but usually what happens is by the time August and September rolls around, your lake levels start they start falling. And by the time October gets here, most of the lakes across the country have water levels below normal. And this is what you want, because the key on this thing is to figure out the type of rock structures or the type of bank that they're on. And the lower that water level is, the more it exposes what type of bank it is, where the rock transitions are, the size of the rock, gravel, clay, whatever it can be. So that's another good thing with it. The thing that really amazes me about the Super Spook in the month of October is traditionally most topwater lures are associated with fishing them on, cloudy days, or overcast days, which I'm not saying that doesn't work, but for this particular technique of fishing, it doesn't matter. I've had days in October where the sun was shining all day long And I've caught them. I've had days when it's partly cloudy and I've caught them good. I've had cloudy days and I've caught them good. So this is one of the rare exceptions in bass fishing in terms of topwater lures, that the sky conditions are not as important as the time of the month and the water clarity that's associated with it. The next thing with it is you need to have the right type of wind conditions. The wind needs to be fairly light. I don't like it to be like completely calm, although that can be good. I like to have just a tiny, tiny little ripple. Maybe one of those days out there where like part of the lake has got a little ripple on it and then the rest of the lake is calm. A light wind, because one of the things about a light wind is it pulls fish from a farther distance away. The more the wind is blowing on a topwater lure, the smaller your bite window is. So when you have those days out there where you have a combination of clear water and not much wind, it'll draw the attention of a bass from a long way away. The third aspect with that is it works the best on a lake that has some type of a mixed species. Now you can catch them on a straight smallmouth lake, a straight largemouth lake, but the lakes that usually have some combination of largemouth, spotted bass, and smallmouth work the best. They don't have to have like an equal dispersion of them, but it seems like those lakes that have a few smallmouth, a few spotted bass, and some largemouth, for whatever reason, those bass are really the ones that trigger on this. So those are the conditions with it. The next thing that you have to figure out on this thing is like where these bass are located at, as far as the type of structures that they get on or the type of banks that they're relating to. And this is probably the most challenging part of fishing this Super Spook in October, because I've had lakes where I've went to and it's like some of them are keyed specifically on the points, some of them are keyed in the back of the coves, some of them are keyed on rock transitions, and I've had a lot of situations where there wasn't any type of a pattern. It's like you'd pull into a cove or a creek and you'd start fishing and you have to fish everything. You could literally catch one at the mouth of the cove, halfway back in the cove, in the back of the cove, at the front part of the creek, at the back part of the creek. That's sort of typical with the Super Spook pattern in the month of October. There's no rhyme or reason about how to pattern a fish. But a couple different things that will help you on this. First of all, these fish that you're targeting on the Super Spook, for the most part, are going to be in less than 10 foot of water. A lot of those bass in October, when they're hunting and they're cruising out there, the largemouth are going to be tighter to the bank, and the smallmouth and the spotted bass may be a little bit further off the bank. So depending upon the bank angle that you're fishing, that determines where you should expect your strike. The steeper the angle of the bank, the closer those fish are going to be to the bank, and the flatter the bank is, they can be a little bit out off the bank. So prime example is if you're fishing a bluff bank or a channel bank, I like to cast parallel to the bank, close to the bank. And if I'm fishing like a flatter point or a gravelly flat bank, I work that bait, almost all the way to the boat, especially if my boat's in less than 10 foot of water. That can be really good. And the retrieve is just a typical walk and retrieve, just a medium retrieve. Sometimes I like to vary it up and, make it a stop and go, but you don't want it too slow, don't want it too fast, just a nice medium retrieve. And colors can be like anything else. Some days they like one color over another, but you just sort of have to let that dictate. What are you doing there?
You lied.
What?
You said you were going to fix it.
There, I just fixed it.
Yeah, you should have bringed it back.
Come here and show it to everybody. Elijah made an axe. He wanted me to fix it. He said that I lied, that I didn't fix it, but I did. Show it to him, what it looks like. That's your axe here. Okay, sorry about that, guys. So anyway, the colors are just like any other thing. You just sort of have to experiment with the colors. I'll give you sort of a foundation. On most conditions, most situations, just like on an average day, I like a black Super Spook. Black's really good. If you have a really bright sunny day, not much, cloud cover, not much wind, the chrome seems to work really good. And on those days that are cloudy and low light conditions, like overcast, some type of a bone color, some type of a flat color that stands out, that really, you can see working from a long way. Most of the time I'm fishing it on, 14 to 20 pound test monofilament line. I don't use braid, I usually use mono. And I usually use that Megabass 6 foot 10 inch 110 special models with my rod with it. But anyway, guys, give it a try. Super Spook here. Like I said, Tackle Warehouse link in the description. Just get you a few of them. out of all, I use a ton of different walking baits. I use the Megabass Diamante, Megabass Giant Dog X. There's, you know, there's some other ones I use. The Demiki I use sometimes, depending upon the conditions. Certain situations, one's going to outproduce the others. Like for example, on a flat, calm day, nothing can beat that Megabass Giant Dog X. But in the month of October, guys, you better get you Super Spook. It's going to make a big difference. So hope it helps out. We'll talk later.